Today we're at the Kansas Aviation Museum in Wichita, Kansas. This used to be the Wichita Municipal Airport, and it was the terminal here from 1935 to 1954. And we're in the southern part of Wichita near McConnell Air Force Base, and we'll talk about the connection between that and the airport here in a little bit. But entering the building, it feels like an old high school or junior high that I used to go to. And it has the kind of same time period with the interior and all that kind of stuff. It has a nice little theater. You can learn about the history of the airport there, and the airplane seats is a good touch. Wichita is called the air capital of the world. And you might wonder why if you're not from Wichita. And it's because at a time in the 1940s, Wichita was producing 2/3 of all of the aircraft that were built in the world. In 1927, the city purchased 640 acres of prairie here, and there were air shows that were dating back just before that. So in 1930, there was a ceremony where L.W. Clapp broke ground as construction of the administrative building here commenced. The Great Depression delayed progress until the Works Progress Administration funds became available in 1934, and in 1935, the building was dedicated. And you can see several things that, as I was talking, that were shown there, including this is the Aviation Hall of Fame. In 1941, the U.S. Army Air Corps leased the airport, added the upper control tower, which we're going to visit here, and commenced operations by 1942. Wings were added to both sides of the terminal as the Army's procurement division supervised delivery of Boeing Cadets and B-29s. By 1944, a takeoff or landing was occurring every 90 seconds at this airport. At the end of World War II, the airport returned to civilian use. We're on the second floor, and this is where they have a lot of history of the different aviation companies. Cessna, Beechcraft, Textron, Bombardier, Spirit, Airbus, places like that. And so they have history of a lot of those here. People like Charles Lindbergh, Hopalong Cassidy, Fred Astaire, Amelia Earhart, and Howard Hughes all passed through this airport one time or another. 1951, the airport was acquired by the U.S. Air Force and renamed Wichita Air Force Base. Civilian use continued until 1954 when Mid-Continent Airport opened and the base was renamed McConnell Air Force Base. The Mid-Continent Airport is now called Eisenhower Airport. The Air Force continued using this building. They called it Building 1 until that 1984 when they shut the doors and abandoned it. It sat empty and partially gutted for about 6 years until the Kansas Aviation Museum was formed in 1990 and began to put this museum together. There are many aircrafts inside the building, and as we'll see, there are many outside as well. The building was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1990. It really is an impressive place to walk around and learn about the history of aviation, not just in Wichita or the state of Kansas, but around the world. This is some very historic space here, and some of these airplanes are really interesting to learn about. I am no aviation expert, but I know that there's a lot of you out there, and I'm sure you're recognizing some of these planes. So up to the third floor, they have some other exhibits. Women in aviation. They have an area dedicated to the military. They have an area dedicated to African Americans in flight. So a lot of good history on each floor. Wichita's aviation dates back to the 1920s when the manufacturers like Laird, Steeman, Cessna, Beechcraft, some of the ones that you already saw in the video here, were established in the city, and they got the nickname Air Capital of the World. And like I mentioned, the amazing amount of aircrafts that were built here in Wichita. It's about a third of the aircrafts in the United States now. Back then it was about 2/3. We're heading up stairs to the very top to check out the control tower. I thought this was one of my most favorite places to check out. And we're going to go look at some of those airplanes here in a minute. And then off to the left here, that is McConnell Air Force Base.
Secure 4446 traffic. Secure 4446, cruise speed to 190. Going back to 190, good for 4446.
We're back down to the second floor after visiting the control tower. Taking a little glance at some of these airplanes. We're going to go inside that FedEx airplane at the end of the video. That's the control tower we were just in, up there. This is a view of the building from the other side of the entrance. Today, the city of Wichita boasts more than 450 aerospace companies and suppliers. It has the third largest concentration of aviation workers in the entire country. It's also home to the Wichita State University National Institute for Aviation and the National Center for Aviation Training. Wichita has the honor of being the nation's highest volume producer of aircraft since 1929. It was fun to see the different airplanes. There were some really little, tiny airplanes, and obviously some much larger ones. There were Air Force planes out here. And once again, like I said, I'm not any type of expert with airplanes, but I enjoy traveling, and I always enjoy airports. I enjoy small airports especially, and ones that have historical information about them. And this was a really cool visit. Here's one of the airplanes that we get to go into. This is the Ryan International Company. Not a name that you hear about as often, but back in the day here in Wichita, it was one of the leading companies. Hope you enjoyed this quick tour of the Kansas Aviation Museum in Wichita, Kansas. Highly recommended place to visit if you're ever in town.
This would have been how you entered the airport back in the day, I guess.